The DaSamNudge tower is an incredible skyscraper that we built on my Minecraft server over the course of about a year. When we started doing videos on this back in November of 2021, everything was pretty good. We had a pretty good schedule, and now we're back maybe 2 months after the last episode of the series came out to finally show you guys the fire alarm system that's in place in this tower. So I'm back in Boss Club, and if you guys haven't seen the video we did on this, it was 2 episodes ago in this series, so go check that out. This is absolutely my favorite part of this entire tower. Just everything about it, the Boss Club signs, the CCTV system, the freaking fire alarms, and the speakers, and just the dance floor in general. Everything about this club is killer. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and go into the mechanical room, and I will start off at the panel. Now, right here is the panel, and if this looks familiar to you guys, that is because it's the exact same panel that we use at Boss Domain. Of course, with the only difference being that there are a lot more zones here. This is a 25 zone panel, while the one at Boss Domain I believe is a 15 zone panel. Up here you can see the model is the MX9600 Custom, because I decided that anything past 15 zones of this panel would just be called the custom version of the MX9600. So there's the panel right here. Brandon put in some nice floor decorations in front of it. I really like the look of that. Right here we have the coding selector. We can do March time, which is 75 beats per minute, or code 3, which is your standard code 3 that you would hear in real life. And over here we have a silent test. Now I have never implemented that into another system before, but it's actually very helpful for when there's other people in the building that don't want to hear alarms going off. Over here we have a button that's marked lockdown. I will be getting into that later on in this video, but for right now we're going to focus on the fire alarm system. Right here we have our notification appliance right here. This is our redstone torch strobe with the custom fire alarm map on top of it. This is why we would not have been able to do the video without entities, because this would all just be bare. And of course we have the fire alarm pull station right under it. Looks very nice, and right to the right of it is a lockdown light, which as I said we'll be getting into a little bit later in the video. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a fire alarm out here in the club. There's one right here by the stairs, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and pull the one right here. Now the server is still unfortunately running like complete crap. I don't like it. It's supposed to be 75 beats per minute March time, but as you can hear it's just very slow, but it's still going to serve its purpose for this video. So as you can see, as usual, all of these strobes are synchronized. Looks very, very nice. We have the strobes going around the club up here, and there's some in the pillars as well, but the majority of them are up high on the wall. I'm going to go ahead and hit silence on the panel really quick. Now you'll hear this panel also has an internal piezo, and another modification I made to this panel was when you go ahead and hit silence, it silences and acknowledges the piezo, which is very nice. So as you can see, no more horns, but we do have audible silence with the strobes. And coming over here, we did show this in the Boss Club episode of this series. The emergency exit for the holding cell is open because the fire alarm system is currently an alarm. And as you can see, all the jail cell doors are open as well. And of course we have strobes down here, and this system does have re-alarm. Now when you re-alarm it, it unacknowledges and unsilences the panel. Right like that. Of course it usually runs better, but because it knows we're shooting a video, it decided to just not give us a good time. But there's that, and pretty much like all of the other panels I've made in Minecraft, you can reset it straight from alarm. The lamp test. There's the success tone, and you heard all of the cell doors and the emergency exits close on reset. That's pretty much the basics of the panel. I'm not going to go in depth with how the panel works because, as I said, it's the same exact panel that's in Boss Domain. So if you want to know how the actual panel is built and how it works, I'll leave a card in the top right corner of the screen for you guys. As I mentioned before, we have a pretty different layout for alarms throughout the club. As you can see right here, there's a pull station on the side of the staircase, and then another one right here by the staircase. Reason being is because this right here leads to the locker room. So if someone's on their way to the stairs, you can pull the fire alarm right there and then continue on to the stairs. I know it's kind of counterintuitive, but hey, it's Minecraft, so it's kind of irrelevant at this point. But the strobes are quite a bit higher than they usually are. Usually they're 2 blocks above the pull stations, but for the club I decided to have them up a little bit higher. Just because the ceilings are so high up in this place, I thought it looked a little bit nicer. We're gonna go ahead and head up to the lobby right here, and as you can see, this is what I was talking about with the strobe placement. As you can see here, they are 1 block above the pull stations, or 2 blocks rather. The reason I did that up here is because I couldn't really find a place that would look good, in my opinion at least, to put them higher. So they're kind of just chilling right here above the pull stations in most parts. There are some standalone strobes, like this one over here. There is no pull station under it. But coming back over here, as you can see, we have pull stations and strobes and these support beams right here. Looks really nice, I think. Now, the reason I came up to the lobby is to talk about these elevators. Now, these are the same elevators that you guys saw in the server management center tour that we did, I think about 2 years ago at this point now, something like that. And as you can see, there's 2 of them. Now, these actually do have a function when the fire alarm system goes into alarm. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this pull station on this beam right here and show you what that is. And now we're in alarm. And check out the indicator in front of the elevator here. That's right, guys, we have fire recall on these elevators. How cool is that? And once it gets to the lobby, it parks and it holds the door open. It will not accept any calls, no matter what you do, as long as the fire alarm system is in alarm. I think that's a really cool touch. It actually works quite well, with the exception of the incredibly low ticks per second we're getting on the server right now. But that's elevator recall. It works quite nice. So we're back at the fire alarm panel right now, and as you guys can see, Zone 4, Lobby, Level 1 is an alarm right now. So we're gonna go ahead and reset this. Glorious lamp test. That's a staple in my alarm panels in Minecraft. And there's our success tone. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what I did for the rest of the tower here. So as you can see, the balconies have alarms and pull stations on either side of them. I think that looks quite nice. We have a pull station and a strobe over here in this balcony, along with a lockdown alarm. Since these balconies are mirrors of each other, they're both the same going all the way up. Same with these right here. I think it looks quite nice. I probably did go a little bit overkill, but to have it symmetrical, that's just how it had to be. Just to give you guys an idea of what I did for the main floors of this tower, this is pretty much it. Same spacing. Most alarms do have a pull station right directly under them, and we do have lockdown lights spread throughout the building as well. I'm moving on to Boss Cafe right here. We have a pull station right here near the entrance, some strobes out in the hallway, along of course with the lockdown alarms. And coming in here, we have a pull station right by the exit, and alarms spread throughout the rest of the restaurant. There's not too many pull stations in this place, which is okay. There is a pull station over here by this kind of green room type area. I don't know what else to call it than that. And if you look closely, hidden up here in these leaves, there's a strobe. It looks okay. This is kind of the best I could do with strobes in here because of the leaf decorations that Brandon put in that look really nice. It's pretty much Boss Cafe right there. Going out here to the balcony, as you can see, we have a strobe and a pull station out here along with a CCTV camera. And this is what we did for the apartments. I think it looks nice. There's no pull stations in apartments, but as you can see, there are fire alarm strobes, and I decided to just put one lockdown alarm in each apartment because it's a little less necessary that you wake up for a lockdown than it is if there's a fire. So as you can see, we have fire alarm strobes inside of the bedroom right here. There's also one out here in the living room, and there's one out here in the kitchen. Now keep in mind, this is the smaller design for the apartments. If we go across the way here, this is the larger apartment unit design. So there's 2 strobes out here, as you can see. One in the living room, one near the kitchen. And the lockdown alarm for the larger size units is in the kitchen as well. Going into the bedroom, strobe there, of course, very necessary. Strobe in this bedroom as well. And I think there is one in the closet as well. The alarm coverage up here is pretty solid as well. I'm going to go ahead and pull a pull station out in the hallway right here. You'll notice the buttons on these are Blackstone. Now the reason for that is because if you take a look behind, there's no command block because these walls are only 1 block thick. There are command blocks inside of the walls here in the part where I could actually fit them that test for a pushed Blackstone button. So when this gets pushed, Not when you flip the map, sorry about that. There we go, when that gets pushed, it puts the system into alarm. Now the strobes appear not synced, of course, because of our glorious lag that we're experiencing on this server. But now we're up in the penthouse, and there is another Enunciator up here. The only other Enunciator in this place. We're gonna go ahead and go check that out, as you can see right here, fire alarm Enunciator. And here it is. So as you can hear, throughout the apartment levels and of course the penthouse, audible coverage for the alarms is actually pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about this Enunciator for a second. This is actually the first ever of this Enunciator that was ever built. I had to make a smaller Enunciator to fit up in the penthouse, and because I like the design of it so much, I stuck another one down in the holding cell in Boss Club. Now I did have to make a small modification to the panel, which I'll get into in just a second here, but if you take a look behind here, you can see that there's just one command block behind each button, and then there's either bedrock or redstone blocks behind the lamps that need to be turned on. So that's pretty cool there. But the issue I ran into was the way that the panel works is generally there's a command block and then a repeater and then another command block or a redstone torch to kind of slow the signal down. So that way when the button pops back out, it sets air where a redstone block had been set at the panel. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to the panel so I can show you a little bit more of what I'm talking about, and hopefully it'll make more sense than what I just explained. Here we are at the panel. This is underground at a central location of the tower. So when you go and hit reset on the fire alarm panel or one of the Enunciators, what happens is a redstone block gets set here, and then it gets removed. The reason it needs to get removed is because if the reset circuit stays powered the whole time, the whole system just quits working. Now I know this looks really messy, but you have to remember this is a, what is it at this point, a really, really old design panel that I made, I think back in 2016 or 2015, something like that. But you'll notice the redstone block went away. That's because there's now these command blocks behind it that set this block back to air once they get power through the delay of the repeaters. That is the modification I had to make to the panel to make the smaller Enunciators work. Because the smaller Enunciator does not have enough room to put a command block to tell this block to go back to air, I just put in a little thing inside the actual panel to set it back to air. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it's kind of weird, it's kind of hard to explain, but that's how that works, and everything else about this panel that you would ever want to know can be found in the video that I did a little over a year ago on Boss Domain's fire alarm panel. It's the exact same panel, this one just has a little bit more knacks for the incredible amount of NAs that we have in this building. With that explanation of the alarm system done, I'm going to go ahead and hand the video over to Brandon so he can give you a little idea of what we had to do to get alarms working down in the apartment units and hallways.
Hello and hi again. So yes, there is really not a whole lot of space in the DaSamNudge tower. In fact, if you look at skyscrapers and skyscraper design in general, the whole reason why we build skyscrapers is to save on space. We don't have a whole lot of room, like in big cities, to expand outwards horizontally, so we expand vertically. So for each floor here, the floor plan really just does not have much room at all to really make things look really, really nice. And so me personally, my priority was to make the rooms look as nice as we possibly can, so that that way they would look kind of spacious and not too awkward. So that way they could have, you know, bedrooms that look like the appropriate size and whatnot, that, you know, something that you would see in an apartment like this. And what also doesn't help is in Minecraft, we really can't have like half blocks or anything like that. Our walls are always going to be one block, which I believe is 1 meter wide, which isn't really realistic in terms of how thick a wall, especially like an interior wall to like a room would be. It just gets very annoying. Like this would realistically be how wide a wall would kind of be, and that's even wider than a real life wall. And then to fit like circuitry in the middle, our blocks have to be 3 blocks wide, which kind of sucks, honestly, because that's just a whole lot of just wasted space that just goes onto this big thick wall in the hallway that doesn't really need to be there. Now, we tried to incorporate some voids into the floor plan just to make it more easier for Sam, but that's not always possible, and so we had to get a little creative and use special commands to make things work right. Like, as you can see, this is only a 1 block thick wall right here, which is, again, probably the most preferable wall that we can get in Minecraft without it looking awkward and stupid. But yet we still have a fire alarm that does work via special commands and a whole bunch of cool stuff up there and whatnot. There are a few other voids here, and let me see if I can show you. That's a void. So there you go. You can see that he squeezed in the alarms in here. There's not much room here at all, and this void does not last very long either. And so it was quiet, and I have to give props to Sam on this, him trying to figure out where to put all this, because like I said, there's just very limited space to put things in here at all besides the ceiling. But you know, obviously we can't have that. We can't put our alarms in the ceiling because that messes up with other things. So it gets quite a lot of fun, and pretty much all the apartment level floors, which is basically the upper half all the way up to the penthouse, are designed this way. What made things easy though is that it's mostly just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and so we don't have to create an entirely new blueprint every single time. But regardless, I mean, it's still a lot of work. We still had to like hand place all these image maps on here. There's still a lot of things that have to be done to make it work, and there's just a lot of tedious labor that you got to do. I luckily didn't have to work on that, but I'm sure Sam had broken a sweat for sure, messing with all the commands and getting everything essentially programmed in correctly so that the alarm system can work throughout the entire building, which is in itself quite an astonishment there. But yeah, that is basically alarms in the apartment and how they work. And there are, I think some of the other floors had that as well, where there's just some very small voids, and you know, you just have to work with what you've got. Because again, these apartments, some of them are very small as well. Let me see if I can open up to a small one. I think this is the small version. Yeah, this is the small version, and I believe there's even less voids on here because the elevators took up a lot of space. That's another thing too. The elevators take a lot of space. They're really cool, but they kind of like take things that could be used for other stuff as well. So you really have a lot of limited real estate in this floor plan, which kind of made it a challenge. But I think it's a challenge that Sam and I and Andrew have done a really good job of making everything all work out at the end.
So there you go, guys. That's pretty much what we had to do for the alarm system in this tower. Only for the upper levels, but as Brandon mentioned, I had to kind of shoehorn in the alarms into the walls, because as you guys know, note blocks will not output sound if there's any blocks above them, so that's why they're not in the ceiling. But it did end up working out, as you heard earlier. The coverage that these alarms get is pretty good. You know, you can hear them everywhere you need to hear them. And yeah, so that's pretty much how it was done. There's also the purple command blocks back here. These have the execute if command in them for the pull stations. Execute if block, and then pull station runs set block, and this is what sets the block to put the panel into alarm. So that is our ghetto rigged workaround to get everything working the way it needs to work for the fire alarm system in this building. With that out of the way, it's time to move on to the lockdown system. Now, this is the first building that I ever put a lockdown system into, and I did that because it's a very large public building, and I felt that it might as well have a little bit of extra security, hence the CCTV cameras everywhere as well. We're gonna go ahead and go back into the mechanical room in the club, and as you can see, there's the fire alarm panel right there, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we have this button marked lockdown. So I'm gonna go ahead and enable this so you guys can actually see what happens when I push lockdown. Check that out. Attention, the DaSamNudge tower is under lockdown. Please do not leave the room you're in. Entrances have been blocked. Elevators are disabled. Do not let anyone enter the building. So as you can see right here, we have all of our lockdown lights flashing in sync. I tried to do some sort of audible notification for this, and it just didn't look good. And as you can hear, check that out, the elevators have a recall for this too. As you can see, they hold at Boss Club during a lockdown. Same deal, ignores all calls, will not take you anywhere. Even if you come in here and hit pick floor, you can pick all the floors you want, but it's not going to do anything. It just stays right where it is because the elevators have been disabled. And as you can see right here, the staircase has also been blocked off. Now, as you guys just saw, the staircase entrance to Boss Club was blocked off with bedrock. That's not the only entrance in this place that's blocked off. I'm going to go ahead and have Brandon enable the lockdown mode here so you guys can see what else happens. Check this out. How cool is that? It also entirely blocks off the entrance to the parking garage, even from the upper parking lot. The whole ramp gets blocked off. And of course, front doors, you can still open them, but you're not going to get past bedrock. So that's the lockdown system. It's pretty simple. There's no notification for lockdown on the outside. However, the back room, or the back entrance of this building, is blocked off with bedrock as well. I unfortunately do not have a way to be notified or notify other people who are administrators in this tower as to why a lockdown was initiated, which is unfortunate because it would be really helpful for the CCTV system. Now check this out. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. So the command is CCTV camera view, and then you pick one. As you can see, we have quite a few. So we're going to go ahead and tab down to the mechanical room camera. We're going to go ahead and view Boss Club mechanical room camera number 1. You got to give it a second or two to kick in, especially with the lag that we're experiencing on the server right now. And here we are. And as you guys can see, there's Brandon. He appears to be having a little seizure in the mechanical room. I unfortunately don't have a way to show you, but I'm inside the camera, if that makes sense. But the person in that room, if he comes over and looks at it, he will not be able to see me. See, he's totally oblivious. I'm watching him right now, but he has no idea. So that's the CCTV system. There's unfortunately no way to put up monitors for these cameras. However, it's still really cool that I can just remote into a camera wherever I want and no one would know about it. It's very cool. It's pretty impractical because this is a private server, but it just adds to the aesthetic and realism of a building that's this big. And it's just a cool touch. So there you go, guys. That is going to be it for the long overdue episode of the fire alarm and security system in the DaSamNudge Tower. As usual, I hope you enjoyed watching it. Go subscribe to Brandon. Big shout out to him for helping me shoot this video, and of course for building pretty much the entire tower. As he's mentioned a lot in previous videos, he designed and built the entire building, and I came in and designed all the redstone stuff and made everything work properly. And as you guys can see from all the videos we've done on this tower, everything came out pretty great. But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this video. We should have the finale for this series up next Friday. If not, though, it'll be up sometime soon. I'd say within the next 3 weeks or so from the release date of this video. But as far as this video goes, guys, that is going to be it. And as always, thank you for watching.